construction area for the new Kosciuszko Bridge. After the completion of the bridge, the department was designing plans for regulated parking and bike lanes. The unfortunate circumstances of the pandemic have altered the time frame on these projects. We believe that this proposed parking facility is now needed and will add to the positive ongoing changes to the neighboring communities of Williamsburg and Greenville. This proposed facility will have regulated parking and continued maintenance and serve as an asset to the community. This would be the first step to install the future bike lanes and other amenities. And I'll hand off to my deputy, Jimmy.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Jami Resk. I'm a Deputy Director for Parking Management and Facility. And we are here tonight to present to you the proposal to regulate and provide the new Meeker Avenue Municipal Parking Field. So now if I need to share the presentation, do I have the access now to do so? Karen?
Jimmy, you should just make sure you could see the controls. If you don't, I'll do it again.
So I see in my settings here, chat with everyone, bowling, setting info. I didn't see share screen.
On the bottom, all the way on the bottom.
Yeah, I
That's
see.
okay.
Share.
Stop video and then share.
So Carlos, if you have it, can you share it? And
Let me see if I can do it.
I cannot see the sharing screen in my end here.
Your file. Let's see if I make it full.
I can't do it. It's not coming up.
Can you guys see this?
Can you allow Mike to share the screen?
It's going to him now.
Okay, let me make this full size so we can see it clearly. Can you guys see this now?
It went to Jimmy.
So I mean, I cannot see in my end here. Like I'm checking the setting. I'm using my tablet. So I don't see share screen as I'm doing with other programs. So I'm not sure if that's fault on my end or I'm not really well expert with WebEx.
Share content. I'm looking at share content. Share new whiteboard. Okay, you guys are, that's not it. And so let me try it again. Share file. Okay. These are my Zoom backgrounds, but that's not what we want. Me. I have it here.
Michael, are you trying to share the screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let me see if I
So I try now. You guys can see it in my. Do you guys see anything? I try something. I'm not sure if it's visible now.
Now it went to Jim. It went to Michael.
Okay.
No, I'm looking at a whiteboard.
Yeah, let me take that off. I'm gonna go to share. Oh, here we go. I can get this up. Just give me 1 second, folks. I apologize for the delay. Share. Screen 2. Can you guys see this?
We got it. Thank you, man.
Folks, is it visible?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So Jimmy, just tell me advance. I'll move it forward for you. Don't start for the delay, folks.
So Meeker Avenue Municipal Parking Facility, our unit is Parking Management Facilities, and today is the date November 1st, 2020. Next, please. The project purpose and the current condition. So the project purpose, New York City DOT, we try to regulate the parking facility on the BQE, as Carlos mentioned earlier, through meter parking for this area. And that will help us to promote turnover and reduce abandon of vehicles, reduce vagrancy, reduce illegal dumping, schedule cleaning of the fields, provide more parking for area via optimized parking design, as well as provide spaces for persons with disabilities. Next, please. As you see from the picture, this is basically the current condition. That's when we went in. We have a household waste dump site. The site is being used as illegal dumping site for household waste, as you see in the picture. Next, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
As well as construction waste dump site, as you see also in the picture, unauthorized disposal of construction waste found on the site as well. Next, please. Also, in the current condition, we found that some of the area of the site is being used as a makeshift shelter, as you guys see on the two pictures that's we presenting right now. Next, please. The current condition. Currently, we have a cleaning regs, which is the location is treated as an on-street site with alternate site parking regulation for street cleaning. As you see, the regulation, the side parking regulation is as follows: Monday and Thursday, 11:30, 1 p.m., as well as Tuesday and Friday on the other side from 11:30 to 1 p.m. The ASP mandates moving of vehicles, thus reducing capacity. So people technically, they have to move their vehicle during this time. Next, please. The project details. So the project area lies between Greenpoint and Williamsburg neighborhood. Site located on Meeker Avenue between Metropolitan Avenue and Morgan Avenue underneath the BQE. Next, please. That's, if you look, that's the location, which is we have 3 phases. Next, please.
So we're looking at phase 1 at this point in time, folks. Phase 1.
We are focusing, as Mike mentioned, right now we are working in phase 1. That's technically, if I know that some people went to the site this morning or yesterday and they looked at the location. That's technically phase 1, as Michael mentioned. That's what we are focusing right now. The project benefits. So the project improve long-term access to retail, as we see that the area there is being changing, and commercial parking, promoting commerce for the area. Provide long-term parking for workers away from the storefronts area and freeing up curb spaces for residents. Provide cleaner, safer environment for motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians, as well as metered regulation will make it easier to provide maintenance, upkeep, and enforcement, as well as a turnover. Competing cuts and the availability of parking, this facility will provide parking options that will increase the parking supply. Overnight parking will be available, but the meter regulation prevent long-term storage of vehicles.
So the competing, as we're all seeing now, with the advent of more restaurants on the curb, the demand for the curb is continuing to grow. And you know, this is another thing that we feel, providing additional parking amenity, but a complete parking structure. This is not just parking; it's just a use for all users, bicycles, pedestrians, and so forth. And as we said,
you hear me?
yes. And we would also, you know, we would work with you guys. What are the hours of operation that make sense for the community board and the neighborhood? And then the overnight parking would be for free. So folks that come in after a set time, they can leave the vehicle there overnight, get up the next day and go to work. So it would provide another mechanism. And again, a regulated, a larger parking area for them to use. Sorry, Jimmy.
Sure. And actually, to add to Mike, and I mean, our survey saw that a lot of cars has been there for long period of time. So that's technically is going to help the resident as well. As Mike mentioned, overnight, they can park their vehicle there. So the project benefits. Park and ride option. The site is located by the L and G trains, the subway lines. The project site location by the stops of the 2 subway lines provides opportunity for park and ride, Lormal Street Station for the L line, as well as Metropolitan Avenue Station for the G line. And if you see the map, That's the blue dot. That's where our the whole project for Meeker Avenue, which is, as we mentioned earlier, 3 phases. And as you see, that's where is that subway stations are located, which is closer to the facility, the proposed facility. Next, please. The project benefits: maintenance and upkeep. During phase 1, the site preparation, parking maintenance crew removed 60 tons of household and construction debris from the site. The site will be cleaned and maintained regularly. The defective lights will be replaced. As you see on the picture, there is numerous locations, the light is off. So that's something that's going to be taken care of. Improve lighting and safety in the area.
That's happening now. We're doing the lights now, irrespective of what happens.
Snow removal will be provided for the site as well. The field inspection will be done regularly to ensure safety and serviceability, as well as meter parking regulation will be enforced. Next, please. Phase 1 cleanup. We are here showing some picture of before and after, how it looks before and how it looks now. This is the first pictures. Second, here also before and after. If you see a lot of garbage, a lot of construction waste and household waste. And as you see the second one, that's how it's being cleaned and our crew working on the back there. Next, please. Also, that's a second, also a third picture showing before and after.
This is all debris that was dumped, construction debris. There was a giant granite block that we found. We had to actually break it up. Somebody dumped it there.
60 tons, 60 tons. We have a receipt. I mean, 60 tons garbage. That was, I mean, it's a lot of garbage was there.
And remember, all that debris takes up space that people could be using.
Next, please. Future opportunities, which is bike lane. So basically, I mean, making this parking regulate the area. That is gonna prepare the way for a lot of amenities in the near future. So the implementation of this facility provide a canvas for future bike lanes and other amenities. Parking is working with other DOT divisions to ensure that those future bike lanes and other amenities can be accommodated there. DOT is also working on the design of bike lane and plans to return in the spring with the plans which reflect previous workshops and community conversation. At this time, the demand and utilization of the facility will be better defined to accommodate a comprehensive design that serves all. As Mike mentioned, now we are pursuing phase 1, which that's going to give us like a clear idea how we can move forward with the second and the third phase.
We feel it'll be a good litmus for what's going to help the community the most. You know, we want a complete facility. We will work closely with our bicycle folks because that's important. This has to serve all modes of transportation. And that's mission critical. But I know that you guys have been working with Sean Quinn, Ted, and some other folks. We work closely with them also, you know, but we felt that they have a timeline. We could get this thing in, see how it works, get a sense, put our toe in the pool first, and then as it goes, modify it. Pavement markers we're putting down can be removed. We're using, you know, not temporary, but ones that can easily be taken up to modify this to accommodate the bike lane.
Next, please. Future opportunity. Also, there's other more opportunity, the car share parking spaces, which is we already accommodate in the other parking fields around the 5 boroughs. The site can be used to house vehicles in car sharing program, which can potentially reduce personal car ownership, improve access to services, reduce congestion, and as well as improve air quality.
We're excited about the potential for the car share because if one car share spot can take 5 or 6 vehicles off the curb in a residential neighborhood, I mean, that's a really good thing as we can see it. And it helps the environment. It helps a lot of other good things. It's very green for us to do. So these are the things that we will be looking to push and move forward with.
And we see it as from experience, we see it successful on the other parking fields. We hold like almost 31 parking fields on the 5 boroughs, and most of these off-street parking field has car share. and it seems the program is being succeeded and started with pilot. I believe now they have it as a permanent program.
What
So
we
it's-
would, the car share folks that we work with, we would work with them and obviously the key community board to see where it makes sense, how many we would like to put out there. What people typically don't like is, oh, this is going to take away my existing parking. But since we are cleaning this area and providing more parking, this would be something we wouldn't be taking away from anybody to provide this amenity.
Next, please. EV charging station, which is, I believe everyone talk about the electric vehicle and the EV charging. This site also can be used as a host EV charging station to provide charging opportunities for people with electric vehicles. This is a very, the location there is a plus, and it's a central location. I mean, like serve a lot of, I mean, the area, it's a very, it's gonna be demanding us. Like we see other facilities. The location for this facility, it's a premium location. So
Yeah, we
we believe
see-
that
There's high demand for this, and let's look at it this way. There's a mandate for the agency to go all to electric at said time. This is what we want to be able to provide to reduce CO2, NOx, ppms, and so forth. So the ability to have this may be something that precipitates the ability of other folks to say, well, I know that I can charge somewhere. I may not be able to charge in my garage, but I can under this across the street or under the BQE or in the neighborhood. So this is just another thing that we'd be very excited if we can do this, if this is something that works for you folks, it would be something we would love to see in there also.
I believe my next, I believe this is the last slide. Yeah, I mean, this slide actually, we showing what we did in Gowanus parking field, which is technically that's is very similar to Meeker under Gowanus Expressway. Before Gowanus, I'm gonna give you like a quick background of Gowanus. It's located under the 3rd Avenue on the BQE. Originally was a municipal parking field. The site was closed in 1998 for construction of the elevated highway above the site. The site also was mostly used for long-term car storage, which is what we see that's happening also in Meeker. Similar to Meeker Avenue site, illegally dumped garbage was found at the site. Surface asphalt was not in a good condition. That's also something we worked at and we fixed it. Many cars were parked unsafely, sometimes on the sidewalk, blocking pedestrian access, etc. And now after, next please. And now you see after. We started actually this project as a pilot. Industry City, they asked us if we can regulate two bays, which is from 35th to 37. And this pilot, I mean, we did it like for, after we activated this 2 bay, I mean, they came back, the community board, they came back, they said, guys, come continue, and we need to regulate the whole area there. So actually we succeeded of providing phase 2, which is also included additional 5 bays. And now we are working with phase 3, which is going to provide 6 bays, which is by the end of this year, we will have almost from 652, that's almost 13 bays is going to be regulated by the end of this year.
And the bay is from one cross street, as Jamie said, to another, not a parking stall, but from one cross street to the other.
Yeah, which is from 30th Street till 43rd Street by the end of December. Right now we have active from 30 to 37 to 37th Street. That's already active and it's being regulated. And as you see, beautiful, clean. People loved it. I mean, we get like a very positive feedback.
This was one of the ones that folks really liked. And I think it served a niche, and there was a need for this thing. So we that's why we did expand it. And that's one of the things that also said, well, maybe this is a good fit for the Mika area.
So we felt Gowanus was a successful program and a successful facility. So we believe Mika would be the same. I want to add also Gowanus, we have like almost from 90 to 95% occupancy. So that's one of the highest facility after we regulated the area. So that's technically the end of our presentation. And if you guys have any question, we are welcome to hear it, and we're going to answer it at the best of the we can.
Okay, now if I can get things back to where we were. It's always good. It's easy to get here and hard to get back to where we should be. So, we wanted to just go over this with you folks. We're interested in working with you. If we can share the design, the layout, so forth and so on. We could put pavement markings down there that could be easily removed when the bike lane comes through and the final design is there. I know they're working on it now. And I know it'd be great to have the Kosciuszko connected all the way through. Keep people from riding in the street, so forth and so on. So we would be very excited about, being able to be a part of this overall plan to provide this amenity for all.
Okay.
Well-
Thank you. All right. So when I first saw this come through, it just came through as an email as a notice to the community board, that this was going to happen. And, we have meetings with DOT and with some groups going as far back as I think 2015 and maybe even before that. We had a formal presentation in September of 2017 about general improvements to Meeker Avenue. And in all this time, I don't remember ever, and I looked through the presentation from September, and I don't really remember seeing an emphasis on any kind of parking proposal or anything like that. And then, just looking at the portal, you can see that there's an abundance of requests for bike infrastructure and other things to happen there. And then all of a sudden we get parking, and yes, there are more restaurants operating along that corridor now, not a lot of retail. And so, I had questions, people came to me with questions, and then on the Facebook community page, not the community board page, but the crowdsource page for North Brooklyn, there was a lot of animated concern that the city was going to favor parking and car culture over things that we've been asking for. Sorry, my dog. Been asking for a long time. And even in the schematics from the September presentation, there's kind of tables set up, makeshift parking space, not park space, but like recreation area type things. And when we were talking about the K Bridge completion, and this came up both on its own, but also as we discussed the egress and entrance to the new K Bridge bike lanes and the problems with the connector up there.
Michael, I'm sorry. Michael, I believe you have to close the screen. I don't have the control. You're still on the presenter. I can't close it.
I thought I did. Oh, wait, I think you're sharing your screen. Wait 1 second. Stop sharing. How's that?
Better.
You got it?
Perfect. Yes.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so all this to say, there's been a lot of discussion about more people-friendly uses for the stretch.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it seems we cannot see everyone. So we saw it for a little bit and went back to a white blank page. That's the same with everyone or only me?
Blank page, and I just see everybody across the top.
You see everyone?
Oh, I see some people, but.
No, I saw. Now it's perfect. Yeah, now it's
Okay.
It's fine.
Eric, what presentation in September are you talking about?
September of 2017.
Can you I mean, just remind, are you talking
Yeah.
about the workshop? The
Yes.
workshop that we
Yes.
did for visioning under the,
Yes.
okay, so that wasn't a presentation. It was a workshop about possible
Yes.
uses.
Sorry. Yes. Workshop. Yes. To be clear, it's a workshop. Yeah.
So we weren't proposing anything. We were out
No,
there
I know.
gathering input. Okay.
I'm not saying that you did, but what I am saying is that a lot of people did. And then, when it came up to, where is it now? And then we didn't make the workshop presentation. Someone at DOT did. And, when they did, I'm looking at it now and I'm seeing 125th Street, Manhattan Plaza, 100 Manhattan, 125th Street Plaza. There's people doing Tai Chi or yoga or something. There's a big, Connect Four and chess.
Okay.
Plants or whatever. And I know that you did that as like a visioning thing for people, to get people to talk in the breakouts. And I understand that. But that was, I think you did that because you were responding to other meetings that we had had previously about the 3 sections of Meeker, and how Meeker Avenue proper was going to be, repainted and made safer, and et cetera, et cetera. And then that conversation came out of that. So I'm not saying that DOT proposed that they were going to do these things. I'm just saying that as a community, sometimes with DOT, sometimes in private. I know Transalt did their own workshop, 2 or 3 workshops about this time. I guess it was 2016.
2016.
Right. So, so all that kind of came into this September 17 presentation. Cut to now, where in the community's mind, we understand that the bureaucracy grinds slowly, but I think that the general feeling was that we were going to see, like I said, more people-friendly uses for under the BQE, not additional, additional car infrastructure. And the other thing too is, I haven't used it in a long time, but there are often times where, I've had to use the BQE for parking. I know there's a lot of other residents that do rely on the parking for alternate side days to get in there. It's kind of like a thing that we've had since, and, if anybody on the committee got a chance to read Jerry's email today, when Robert Moses tore the BQE through the neighborhood, a lot of the people that lived through that, at least they were like, oh, at least we have some parking. And, that's hardly a compensation, but for a very destructive project in the city, going back before most of us were here. Anyway, it just, there's all that. And then just to have the announcement that, we were going to do this phased in metered parking, I think it just came to a shock to a lot of us. Now, I appreciate the presentation. I do appreciate all the cleanup that's going on down there, because it was really, it really started with the COVID lockdown, that it really started to get out of hand, that a lot of the dumping happened. So, we do appreciate DOT and sanitation cleaning that up.
No, sanitation did not stand up. That was all DOT.
Okay. All right. So DOT, thank you. We're grateful for that. But now, there's this question of, what really is going to happen there. So that's my statement. There are other people that have more fine-tuned comments. So I'm going to start recognizing board members. I can't see hands raised. But I see Karen's hand raised, and I can't see everybody on my screen, unfortunately. So feel free to jump in and whatever, but be respectful of each other, and please mute if you're not speaking. All right, so I'll recognize Karen, and then Willis, and then William, And I'd like to have Jerry say something if he's amenable to it after William, if that's fine. Okay, and then we'll jump into the public unless there's any other board members that want to ask questions first. Okay.
I would like to say one thing though too. Just remember though, the advent of the metered parking is what's also going to precipitate return constant cleaning and maintaining the site, but also it creates the canvas, as I said earlier, for the bike lane. This makes it so that when the bike lane is ready to come through, this area is ready to go. So if comes spring or next year and the bike lane is coming through, it's there. This is not and I apologize if it seems like we're going to put parking in your neighborhood. No, this is a shared facility. Otherwise, we would just say, no, we're only doing parking. This is the way it is. It's got to work for all. And if it seems as though this is being pushed and rushed, apologies for that. Okay. And maybe earlier workshops or things, but we are willing to work with you folks on how this would best serve you. All right.
Okay. Fair enough. Karen?
I mean, this even goes years before 2017 when we had, the workshop with DOT. Transportation alternatives and concerned citizens, years before that, actually, we had a walkthrough with the council member, Antonio Reynoso, which we went over all of the safety issues, how it gets neglected, sanitation doesn't clean, enforcement. So all those issues, if, we had the cleaning underneath and if we had the enforcement, we wouldn't have these illegal dumping, concerns right now that we have. I agree due to COVID, a lot of people, unfortunately, there's a lot of homeless and, it's underneath the BQE, so they are camping out there. This is definitely not what the community wants, as far as metered parking. I totally understand that now, like especially around, Metropolitan Avenue, there's more restaurants and, sidewalk cafes. But if you really look, it's residential, going from, say, the huge chunk in the middle is more residential than commercial. Then once you get down by Morgan Avenue, by Kingsland, then it's industrial. And a lot of residents actually park underneath the BQE. I know there's a lot of storage issues, which I totally agree. If we could get, rid of that storage issue, and address that, again, that's enforcement. I think we could clean up without having to have metered parking, number one. Number two, I am concerned about the metered parking because, again, there's also workers, okay, in the industrial area that rely on parking underneath, that, have to take their vehicle to and from work. And they do rely on, the parking underneath Meeker Avenue. So I'm not understanding why we need to do the whole entire stretch. I understand this is in phasing. And why aren't we just cleaning up and doing enforcement? Why do we need metered parking, which is going to really hinder the community? So, and can you guys just go over the times and the costs again?
We haven't set that up yet. We would work with you. I guess the first thing is we're looking at this in 3 phases. So the test would be, let's see how the phase 1 works. Okay. If the second area you want to do a park or something different, then that's what you guys would do. But we were looking at the first area to see how it works. We would say, well, what do you folks think the time should be? How does it work for you? The thing is, we have a finite amount of staff and resources for cleaning. So we clean the facilities that we meter. That's the way it works. With this facility, we would be there, a couple times a week to make sure that this thing is cleaned. I can't guarantee that because I have other facilities that we're looking at. The Gowanus we're expanding, other things where staff would be deployed for this. So, it's difficult to say, and I get where you're coming from. Why can't you just do? Why do we have to have this? But that's part of the process of how we do this with the parking. It's to provide, a mechanism, and also without the parking and the regulation, people don't leave. People, I'm going to leave my car there for a month. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. There is nothing to turn it over. And I'll tell you this: you will see what the ASP is going to be much more rigidly enforced than it is now. It's just coming. They've cut it down. So, I think that's something else that you will see. But it's something that we thought, and we do feel this way, that this would be an amenity that we would work with you, not tell you because, well, we're just going to put it in. No, we would work with you. We'd sit down. We get some sense. We'd send you some plans. Does this make sense? Does it not? There are more ADA spots for persons with disabilities, which is critical in this day and age, and the car share and I'm not saying the car share is going to pop up, but we would push for that, and the charging stations too, so that, there's cleaner vehicles. But I understand what you're saying. Is this a fait accompli? It's going to go from end to end and we're just going to push it through? No, we're going to work with you guys. That's why we're here.
And Mike, if I may add one more thing also in regards to the ASP, as Mike mentioned, it's gonna come. And with our proposal, we will have our meter regulation, that's actually is going to benefit the people who wants to park there for a long time. As you mentioned, the worker, he doesn't want to come and move his vehicle from 11 to 1 just to park his car. But with our regulation, it's going to give him the time, whatever the time he want to park. If our regulation is going to be from 8 to 10, for example, he's going to be secured. His spot is going to be secured. He doesn't have to come and move his vehicle back and forth. That's as far as
regulations for longer term in the immediate proximity of the train station, so that people can use it and not park it, not go through the neighborhoods and block driveways.
But at a cost. That's the whole thing. Now they have to add. Okay, they'll have to add that as a cost.
Yes, I understand that, but also they're maybe driving into your neighborhood to get on the train and parking on your side streets and in your residential neighborhoods. This is a mechanism to make sure that doesn't happen as much. I understand what you're saying, and why do I have to pay for this? But, this is an amenity. This is clean. It's well lit. It's safe. It's enforced. There's PD here. There's things that go with it. Also for the bicyclists too, that debris won't be dumped on the bike lane or things of that sort. So there's I guess what I'm saying is, I would hope that we could portray this as a complete package, not just a parking field, but a complete facility that serves all: skateboards, bicyclists, pedestrians, people going for a walk. That's what we're hoping to do. Does everybody want to park out across the street? I understand that, but look at it. Look at the pictures, the before and after, and talk to the people over by Gowanus. They were very, very pleased. A little apprehensive for us, very pleased with it.
And from a residential
Believe us, we want it cleaned up. But we also want it as a public space for pedestrians, for cyclists, and a balance to have also, parking.
Yes.
Again, I agree with you. It's a disaster under there, and it has been a disaster for years. And this is part of the problem. Again, if we, if sanitation and if we had better lighting, if it was safer, I don't think we would be having those issues. But I'm just saying,
And we'd be willing to work with you on this. You're right. It has to be cohesive, and it has to be something that everybody gets their fingerprints on. That's not a problem for us. It's not a problem, because you don't want to make enemies. You want to provide something that works for folks. So if there is a better balance of parking and these other amenities, then that's what we'd be looking for. If it's not the right thing, then it's not the right thing. But, we wanted to come to you rather than put the meter and say, well, it's done. But, when we started to take a look at this thing and said, you know what, let's reach out. Let's see what these folks think. Let's see what makes sense for the majority of folks. We can't satisfy everybody, and we all know that. But what can we do to satisfy as much as possible? Maybe the second phase would be, only a sliver of parking and maybe, more of a park setting or, as you said, some of these other amenities. But then you got to get parks in there. They're going to be willing to do it also. So you have to get other folks to come in.
Okay.
So what's the time, what would be the timeline? And you said spring DOT should be coming to us with a proposal for a bike in,
I thought they were working with you already. As I understood it, they have been working with you folks on the bike lane. I know that they're trying to, listen, the bike folks, this is what they do. They live for this. So when we were
Mike.
talking to Sean, go ahead, Rhonda.
Yeah, so they told me that they think that they'll be ready to come to the community board with a proposal for the Meeker Avenue bike lane
Okay.
in early 2021. That was confirmed as recently as this afternoon.
I have reservations about this because once this is installed, you're gonna put all this infrastructure in, and then
No.
come early next year, after we decide, bike lanes and open space, you're gonna take the infrastructure out.
It's not that, Karen, to be honest with you, it's pavement markings. It's small pedestals for meters. There is not, I'm a civil engineer by trade. It is not a lot of infrastructure at all. In fact, Carlos specifically used pavement markings that we could scarify and easily remove. So if one side's got to go, it's got to go. If that's where the bike lane's going, that's where the bike lane goes. Again, my bike. I like to have a safe place to ride my bicycle around Juniper Valley Park and so forth. I get it. And I get it for a lot of other folks. And better that they've been riding through a bike lane through this neighborhood than on the side street of people desperately getting on the BQE. It makes sense. And that's what we want. And again, Sean Quinn, Ted Wright, the folks that do this, they are mission critical on this. Very serious.
Mike,
I'm just curious because with the money, the city's is looking at a really steep budget crisis on top of the problems that it's got already. So, I mean, this is staff hours that have already been dedicated to painting these lines and putting in these meters or the towers for the meters. I know the meters aren't in yet. So it's already a lot of money been spent on this. And, how do you go back to the city council and justify tearing something out that you put in? I mean, obviously they're not going to ask you this.
It's not that expensive
granular thing, but I mean, if you're moving money around in the department, and then all of a sudden you have to like rip this up to put in, like bike lanes or other kind of like things that the community's been asking for. To Karen's point, and given history of not just your agency, but other agencies, once something goes in, it's very hard to take it out, so I think that's.
To be very honest with you, this is not a high-end item. Pavement markings are not high-end items. The people working on this, there are two people that worked on it. Two people. One engineer and Jemmy has been working on this thing. Pedestals could be taken out. What is the cost of providing safety for bicyclists? Doesn't make a difference. It's safety. I can't speak to what's happened in the past or what's been negotiated before. I can only talk about what we're looking at now and to say that we want to work with you. We want to make sure that this is a combined facility. And if I was sitting on the other side of the screen with you guys, I'd probably be saying the same thing. You said you'd do this, you didn't do it, when it's going to happen. I can't say when it will or not.
Especially when we receive an email basically saying that you don't need community board approval and you're going to do it anyway.
But what did we do? We came to you anyway. We came to talk to you to see what makes sense. Came to let you know that we are interested in doing the bike lane. That's what we came to
So
talk.
come back to us when you have a complete package, not just piecemeal what you want to do. Let's see some of the things that the community wants done. Let's look at the complete package.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
It's a district manager, Jerry Esposito.
Okay, Jerry, it can go back to the way it was if this is what folks want. But you know what? We tried to provide a mechanism to clean this area up. You know, the bike lane will come. But when the bike lane comes, and if it's all full of debris and mess, the bike lane isn't going to come. It's going to be another challenge. So, you know,
That's a false threat.
it's not a threat.
Okay.
It's not a threat. We're trying to work with you.
Right. Right.
Willis.
Yeah, I want to kind of echo what Jerry's saying, is that you keep saying that you want to work with the community on this and you're here to make this happen, but everything the community's been talking about for the past
Simon, you hear me?
years is not being presented here. And so it's a non-starter. No one said, when we had all this vision and all this work was done, led by the community, in conjunction with DOT, the priorities have always been safety and better utilization of the space. And frankly, the fact that I don't understand the relationship as to why this is DOT's responsibility and not sanitation's responsibility to clean up the trash. But people have been complaining and filing 311 comments for years about the illegal dumping. All the schools, local residents and businesses, and the fact that it's great that it's clean now, but frankly, that's not something that we should be utilizing as a rationale to accept a plan that doesn't meet any of the needs that we desire. So if you really say that you're here to work with us, then as Jerry said, you need to come back with a full plan that addresses pedestrian safety, bicycle access, use of public space, etc.
Okay? We can go back and report what you folks feel. You know, we were trying to provide something that would help the community. I guess if this is the feeling that the community itself is in, in the Chamber of Commerce and other folks don't want to see this, I guess we'll have to get more from our borough commissioner and see where this goes. We came here, the area is in complete disarray. Proposed to clean it up, proposed to help regulate it. We felt that, and we know for a fact that the additional parking would take the demand for the remainder of the network, the local streets and so forth. Yes, people want free parking, but they're going to get alternate sides. They're going to have to be moving around. Also, if other folks come into your neighborhood, they're parking on your streets, if that's okay. But again, when you provide this, and first of all, it's only this 3 blocks. This is what we're proposing to try. And we said to try it out. I guess I'll have to talk to the borough commissioner and see where we go with this. But, we had thought that this would be something that folks would welcome because it gives you the parking, it gives you the other amenities, it keeps it clean, it paves the way for a bike lane. We're not doing this without the bike lane. Although I see there's, concern that this may not come to fruition, but that's not the case.
Okay, so Simon, please mute your mic. William?
Hi, it's William Vega here, and for our colleagues in DOT, we do thank you for cleaning up the streets, but as said before, this should have been done by sanitation, and no reflecting to you and your team, but our recollection with DOT as far as the community was Grand Street. With the shutdown of the L train or not shutdown, that was a disaster. And we were there at community board meetings. I wasn't part of community board, but it was felt very strongly by cyclists, the people that drive cars, the people that own the businesses, the business improvement district, and Karen's industrial providers, that nobody was listened to. And DOT just went ahead and did what they wanted to. So that is real current history. I'm right now getting texts and emails from community members of our community, and everybody opposes this. And I'll say 80% are saying this is just a way to collect more revenue for the city because it's in a deficit. So there's a lot of distrust, the past history. Not you guys were not involved, but that's the climate. I think a lot of this could be done, and I have to be very honest with you. I live near there, and I get calls, and I go there with my neighbors to chase out the drug dealers. That's jumped up. On Saturday, they had a little party of 100 kids, all that. So enforcement is 24/7. Okay, So now they have an area that's cleaned out, and then they bring it. They're very sophisticated. They bring their boom boxes and lighting, the multiple colors like the discos from the '70s. So there has to be enforcement. And Monday we picked up 11 syringes in that same spot you cleaned. Okay, that's the real world. Okay, and the thing is, when we had these conversations, I wasn't part of the community board, but I was part of the community, so I can speak on that part. And I also know the restraints government has. So I work with city government as well. But the impression that we got, and we were waiting for, and I'm hoping you work with transportation alternatives because I'm also a member. Those are my folks. Is that safety number one, which should not be relying on meters being stored. It should have been number one priority of city government. Okay. Number two, who's looking after the homeless people? What social advocate group is helping you with the homeless? Because those are folks that don't live there because they're mentally well, they're sick. Who's looking after when they chase them out? Where they go, helping them go and find some shelter or not? Because I'm worried about those folks. They're also part of our community. I said my piece. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, William.
Practice. It's been a practice.
Jerry, did you want to say anything else? Do you want to get in there?
Other than DOT speak with forked tongue, I said, other than that, I have nothing else to add. I mean, they send us an email. They tell us this is what they're doing. This is what's going to happen. They don't need community board approval. I mean, now we're hearing a totally different story. But again, if this is the beginning of this, this wonderful area that's going to be under the expressway that they're going to promote and do, then let's see the full package because they certainly can't be trusted. Let's see the full package. Come back to us when you have a full package to share with us, not just a piecemeal address to a situation that sanitation was addressing a lot of those sanitation issues until their hands were tied by homeless services saying that some of this was the belongings of the homeless people and couldn't be removed. And the problem only exacerbated with COVID, with a lot of the homeless camps that appear underneath there. And hopefully those people's belongings weren't thrown away with the buku tons of garbage that DOT removed, I mean, again, let's see the full package. Where's everything that was discussed in those charrettes that you referenced and all of these good things that were going to happen? And the bike lane's been so long in coming. It was supposed to be ready in time for the opening of the Kosciuszko Bridge, and that didn't happen.
Well, that's not true. There's a bike lane connection that goes to the Kosciuszko Bridge, and at that time we told you we'd be coming back with a proposal for Meeker Avenue, and that's what they're going to
And
be
how long ago
do
was that?
shortly. How long ago did they open the bridge? It wasn't. It was this year.
Yeah.
I guess it was last November or December, right? Well, that connector meeting, I think it was like right around Christmas. And yes, that's,
Everything winds up taking longer than we expect. But like I said, my understanding is that Bikes was going to come back to the community board to make a presentation, okay, in early 21. And as far as the email that I sent that said, we don't need your approval, this is what's coming, I absolutely sent that because, I'm a messenger and that's what I was told to send. But it sounds like we decided to take a gentler approach and come to you and say that we want your input. So
and then do what you want.
well, you obviously, I guess you can see the future. I can't. I don't know that. My understanding is we're going to take into consideration any position that the community board puts forth to us at this point. But if we're not doing a parking facility, we're not going to be maintaining the facility. I mean, that's our parking group can maintain this facility if it's a paid parking lot. So that won't be the case without that.
Okay. Any other Any other committee members want to weigh in? Simon, maybe?
Yeah, this is Simon. You hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, before I heard somebody mention the idea of maybe only not doing the whole plaza, maybe just the metered parking, only maybe part of it. You know, that's just this idea is. I think it's maybe if they have to do something, they should maybe consider just doing part of it, not
The current proposal is 3 blocks.
I'm saying again.
The current proposal is for phase 1, which is only 3 blocks.
Three.
What's the limits there, Mike? The 3 blocks?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
We
It's
have
from Metropolitan.
Metropolitan to Lormel Street. Metropolitan Avenue to Lormel Street. That's phase
I'm
1.
saying maybe we could just do one block or two, one block at a time and see how it goes. I mean,
That's actually our approach. I mean, as Michael keep mentioning on the beginning, and it's gonna open, I mean, the road or prepare the road for all the idea you guys, I mean, or the community needs.
If you did the 3 blocks, these are the 3 in the immediate proximity of transit. And also the feeling was we would see how did the community react to it? Is it used? Are people coming to use the facility? If they're not, and then we'd be, I said, in a better position for the bike lane to come through.
That's what happened in Gowanus as well. That's what happened in Gowanus. They started with 2 blocks, and then they asking us to start expanding because they felt it was successful.
Simon, anything else?
no.
Eric, can
Okay.
I just ask one point of clarification on that? Has DOT done any data collection in terms of how many spots are available, different hours of the day? Is there using this? Is there a way, if we move forward, to monitor the impacts on parking and residential free parking that's more, all the valuable parking is not here. It's like you're charging people to park in the most undesirable spot. So what is the mechanism to monitor how it's being used right now so that we can actually quantify if it's valuable in terms of an actual parking lot or not?
Well, truly, let's look at it this way. There is no traffic data available right now that'll tell you anything due to the COVID and what's happening. And realistically, I'm a traffic engineer. It's just the new norm hasn't settled in. We don't know what's going to be happening. But does that mean that we can't do some sort of monitoring to see how is it working? What are some of the areas that we want to look at? We could do post monitoring to see how this thing works, to see if it makes sense.
I think what he's asking though is wait, hold on, Michael, hold on. I think what Will is asking, and Will, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what Will is asking is, as you were designing this idea for under the BQE, what metrics were you looking at on the front end to say, oh, let's put in metered parking? That's a good idea for this spot. I think that's what he's asking, not how we're going to monitor it once it goes in, but like what numbers led you to figure that this was a good fit?
Both of those, yeah.
Yeah, I can't quantify what it is. We know that there was parking underneath there. We knew there was debris. We felt there was vermin, there was unsafe conditions, so forth and so on. We said, well, if we did go in there and we provided a metered parking facility for at least 3 blocks to see how it works, that would give us a better idea. Did I do an overall regional traffic study, a simulation network model? No, that wasn't done. And the truth is, there's nothing that really exists right now that would give you that. I hear what you're saying. Listen, I hear what you folks are saying. We're saying, give it a try. It's 3 blocks. See if it works. Does it provide relief? Is there other things that you can do? See what happens on the next 3 blocks. See what happens afterwards. It's. I can't say. How would I put this? We took a look. We saw there'd be potential benefit to the neighborhood. That's what we're proposing.
Okay. Any other committee members want to weigh in? Speak now. right, let's go to the public that has a lot to say, I think. Will, I can't, okay, so here's what I'm doing. I have my phone, I have my screen, I'm taking notes. So I can't switch back and forth to see who's raising their hand in the comments is part of the problem here.
Well, there's a lot of comments that have come in, and I don't know how valuable it would be to go through each one of them. I think what would make the most sense is to call on people that either have their hand up or have made a comment to better express that. Because also we've had a lot of conversations since some of these comments have been made.
Sure. I don't see any hands up in the guests, but if you can, please, I defer to you to recognize them.
Sure. Okay, so the hands that I see up, so let's do that. If anybody else wants to speak who's on the attendee list, please put your hand up. So the see is Kevin Lucera.
And everybody else, please mute your mics. So the only mics that should be open right now are Will's and mine, if that's all right. Thank you. And no one's wants somebody to speak. Okay. Okay. Do we have Kevin Lucera?
I'm assuming, has to be unmuted somehow.
I think Marie has to do it. Marie, you there?
I'm here. Just somehow I lost that whole panel, so give me a few seconds.
Okay, so it's Kevin Lucera. He's actually named in the. Okay, I can see the chat now. I can see it before.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Kevin, go ahead.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you to the community board for addressing this today. It's really important. A huge disappointment, I think, from the community as a whole, that this is what DOT is in the middle of doing right now. There's been community visioning on this space. I know, Karen, as you were saying, this has been an issue for a long time, but there's been community visioning on this space since 2015, real substantive community visioning. I mean, with the BQE, you're talking about this highway has divided this community in half for 3 generations. The Mount Carmel Church was torn down to build it in the first place, and ever since then, it has existed as, parking fields in a massive highway. Councilor Reynoso has talked about how, when you were looking at gang violence earlier on, the BQE was the dividing line. You look at asthma rates in the south side of Williamsburg. You look at all the homes that were torn down to build it in the first place. And at a pivotal time in this, where this community has said, we're starting to think about and talk about what this space can be going forward into the future, whether it could be parks or basketball courts, whether it can hold stormwater, green infrastructure, parks, whatever it may be. Paid parking was never a part of that conversation. Not in any conversation I've ever been a part of have I ever looked at, read, or heard anyone in this community suggest paid parking. And you're talking about 25 acres of land from Barinquin all the way up to the creek. Hugely, hugely valuable to the people that live here. I don't particularly care one way or the honest. I care about this. I don't know if you can still, sorry, it's buffering. I care about how people feel about it here in Greenpoint and in Williamsburg. And in the lead up to COVID, we were talking about community visioning in partnership with El Puente and St. Nick's, Mount Carmel Church, North Brooklyn Neighbors, all the high schools along that route, the Newtown Creek Alliance, Transportation Alternatives, every single elected office, as well as this community board. That was what this community was discussing. It was delayed because of COVID and because of everything that all of our community has been through. And now what we're being essentially told is that we're going to pay now for the privilege of having these 10 massive parking fields that cut our community in two. It's totally unacceptable. And I think the idea is so insulting that we're being told it's almost extortionist to say, well, how are you going to take care of the bike lanes if there's all this dumping under the BQE? Well, how is DOT planning on taking care of the bike lanes that were promised before all of this, when paid parking was not part of the equation? This reminds me so much, and it's so upsetting, of what this community was facing with the pipeline before all this as well, where National Grid came in and said, oh, well, now we're coming to you and talking about what we're willing to do for the community after the work has already been done. I don't understand how that can be. DOT should be able to clean and maintain bike infrastructure that it puts in, regardless of whether or not they're charging people who live here to park in a space that has been, mismanaged and not taken care of for the better part of 60 years.
The DOT does maintain and clean its bike lanes. We were just saying that, if I just may finish, we were just saying that this would help to pave the way for it. But I am not saying that DOT, when they put their bike lanes in, would not clean and maintain them. No.
Sir, I'm sorry, because we have it all. We have it recorded here. What you were saying was, how are you expecting to keep these bike lanes, free of the type of dumping that happens under the BQE if nobody's paying to park underneath?
And I'm clarifying that right now. The DOT would maintain it. But since you're recording it, I'm clarifying that. We would maintain our bike lanes. We do maintain bike lanes.
That's important for this community to know, because we expect those bike lanes to be put under the BQE like they were promised. I think the idea of also saying that 3 out of 10 of the parking fields is not that much. There's 10 parking fields between the top of the BQE we're talking about and Metropolitan. There's 10. So 3 out of 10. It's not nothing. It's 1/3. It's nearly a third. And those are big spaces.
We never promised to put the bike lanes under the BQE. We said that we were going to come back with a Meeker Avenue bike lane proposal. I was at all of those meetings. So we are going to be coming back. We are coming to you with a Meeker Avenue bike lane proposal, but it was never promised that it would be under the BQE. That was one thing that was speculated.
The map that was put out, and I believe it was in, and there's people on this call that could correct me. It was shortly before COVID. It was maybe 2 months prior to COVID. Showed a green line that traced the route of the BQE that connected the Kosciuszko Bridge to the Williamsburg Bridge, and that was what they were talking about in terms of bike lane infrastructure. So now maybe that was outside of the BQE, the space underneath, or maybe it was inside. But that was part of the
maybe
plan.
it was right, but it was not. But you're saying that there was a specific promise made, which was not the case. That's all I'm saying to you.
Okay, I think that
because you do have an attitude that you're like stating this with.
Well, I think that perhaps, the attitude and feelings of this community might be sharper towards this plan because this community was not consulted about what the plan was.
That's what we're doing right now. We're consulting with you. After what?
After we were notified. So, the reason that this is on the agenda is like I explained at the beginning of the meeting, and if you weren't, those of you that weren't here for it, we had received the notice that this was going to happen, and then that generated this meeting. But there was no conversation about, let's have this meeting so we can talk about putting in this parking. That was not the timeline for the way this happened.
It's not the way that it came to you. I sent you the email that I was told to do, that this was coming, and then basically you asked for us to have a meeting to discuss it, and you asked us to come to the full board meeting. We agreed, and then you came back and said, no, don't come to the full board meeting, come to this meeting, and we agreed, and now we're coming with a different position that we're willing to listen to whatever it is you want to say. So I don't.
Yes. I understand, Rhonda, Rhonda, hang on. Yes, Rhonda, and I'm glad that we're having this meeting and now we're hashing this out. But I think it just needs to be clear, and this isn't to anyone personally. This is whatever. The department. The reason that the community gets hot is because of the timing wasn't done right. Now I know that's not your call. You are the messenger. However, you need to take it back to Keith and team decision making to say, going forward, it has to be, we want to do this, it's a major thing to happen in the community. Let's have a meeting and then discuss it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And Kevin is a long time, grew up here. He's venting frustration that I think a lot of people have about the way that this was rolled out. And I'm glad that we're at this point now that we can have a discussion to figure out what's going on. But I just want to make that clear that the timing is what really has, shaken the hornet's nest on this particular issue. But let's all, get calm now and figure out what the best way to move forward is. So thank you. Kevin, do you have anything else?
No, just that the community opposes this at whatever temperature it is conveyed to DOT, whether that is cool or hot. This is something that the community is in opposition to because they were not consulted. They're being consulted now that the work is happening, which is not a real true consultation. It's not. And I think it's a little bit insulting to folks who are taking their time, who aren't paid to do this, to tell them that something is that it's not. And we want to see this we want to see this space as something that is healing for our community. We want to see this space as something that is a benefit to our community and something that our community has real and true input on. And there is a body of work and there is a record that shows that input over the course of the last 5 years. And the fact that it's not been incorporated here and now, up until this point, I think speaks volumes about the process moving forward. I hope that I'm wrong. And I'm looking forward to visioning sessions that involve the community on this, whether they're hosted by DOT or by this community.
Okay.
The visioning, I just want to say this, the visioning session that happened in like 2017, we're in a different time now than that. And we wanted to hear what people's ideas were, whatever they were. But at this point, if you wanted to put in a park or basketball courts or open space or something that doesn't involve DOT infrastructure, there would have to be a comprehensive proposal on who is going to pay for that and who's going to maintain it, because we're certainly not in the business of maintaining those things. I mean, we talk about if it were like a park, then obviously we'd have to be Parks Department. I know that there's a new park that came from the Kosciuszko Bridge project. That's the skate park, and I assume that's being maintained by the Parks Department.
Okay,
that was an existing park, which they had to redevelop.
Can anyone hear her?
Yeah, you cut out, but go ahead.
That was an existing park that they did. They're building a new park way underneath the Kosciuszko Bridge. That has nothing to do with this. And
no,
and
I know
I understand.
Great.
Right, but Rhonda, I understand your point as far as, in whatever the community wants is basically going to need funding, and whether that funding comes from, state, the city, or parks. But again, it goes back to what the community has been wanting and asking for. And short term, it was bike lanes and some open space. And we even said just have planters or whatever short term until we were able to secure, through maybe our elected officials or DOT or parks for long-term planning. But, the meter parking in the email, just I want to point out, it says, okay, the regs would be from long-term from Meeker between Metropolitan to Union. So long-term parking from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. at $1.50 per hour, 15-hour limit. Then you have the same thing, Meeker Avenue between Union and Lamar. Okay, then Meeker between Lamar and Leonard, which is short term, okay, which is more residential, just want to, point that out, from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is maximum 4 hours, which that's not even retail over there. So I'm just like, and then in the email, it says that the growth in the community is housing, hotels, and commercial activities, not in this stretch. And who the heck cares about the damn hotel? They should have their own damn parking. Why should we be accommodating a hotel? So I'm sorry, but this is not cool. It's just not cool.
Okay. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin Dugan has his hand up.
Okay, and I just want to make I'm trying something now that I can get into the chat. I'm trying to cut and paste the chat into a separate notepad, and I'll try to work that in so that everybody's comments are reflected in the report for the record as best I can. Okay. So I'm sorry, Kevin Dugan, is that right?
Yeah, hi, it's Kevin. I'm with Brooklyn Paper. Thanks for taking my question. I've two questions for DOT. The first one, when will this phase one, if you do proceed with it, when will this go live, and how long is the test phase for?
Well, it depends on where we go from here. I can't say what we're saying. I'll be working with the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner's office and see what we would do.
Okay, so it sounds like there's no set timeline or date for this yet. Can you explain? You said that you can't maintain the facility unless it's metered parking. Can you explain what that means? Does that mean because of the revenue that you get from the meter parking that allows you to pay for the maintenance, or can you just kind of explain why you can only maintain a facility if it's meter parking?
Parking staff that maintains the parking lots maintains active facilities that we have metered parking in. That's where we deploy our staff. So if this became a facility that has metered parking, we would deploy staff to go in and make sure that people aren't blocking or dumping debris. If this is not that, then I guess maybe it would fall back to sanitation or somebody else, but we would not be maintaining this if it's not one of our parking facilities. Now, I'm not sure if there's other mechanisms for this, but that's what we're seeing at this point. Rhonda?
Okay.
First of all, I'm not, I don't have authorization to speak to the press, so I don't even want to answer questions that are put to me from the press.
Well, I'm representative of the public as the press, so you can speak to me like a member of the public.
Well, you already identified yourself as the press, so.
Yeah, I know, but the press is basically like the public. It doesn't have to be a division between who you can answer and who you can't. This is a public meeting.
So,
All right, just wait, Rhonda, wait. That's a fair point. The press is the press, and Kevin, you have to be, if you're having this conversation for a article, that's one thing, but if you're quoting agency representatives for the article, or if you're just asking for yourself because you live on Meeker, that's one thing. But if you're saying you're from the Brooklyn Paper and then you're planning on quoting people, that, I just want to be clear that that's not kosher. So.
No, I'm not trying to do it for my own personal reasons. I just don't see the reason why, a agency representative can't speak to me as a member of the press.
Okay,
but that's not for me. For us to discuss here.
It's not my decision, and I'm not not high enough rank to. I just know what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not. So sorry.
Right. I don't want to take over too much time, so that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. All right.
We have a press office, so if we wanted to set something up at the press office, we could set that up too.
Absolutely.
But as Rhonda indicated,
okay,
trying to be honest and open here.
Okay. Because we don't make statements to the press necessarily either as community board members unless, goes through things. So I just want to, Just be clear.
And I also actually want to comment on something else that Mike said, and I'm not, he doesn't deal with bike lanes. He deals with parking lots, So in some cases, the bike lanes are maintained by sanitation, and in some cases, DOT maintains bike lanes, and in some cases, Parks Department maintains bike lanes. So I just want to be clear on that.
Okay. Thank you. Will?
Yeah, okay, next is Alex Roediger.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm a local resident that lives off Meeker. And I thoroughly agree that underneath the Williamsburg Bridge is a dirty, depressing place. But I just wanted to make note that it is also a very vital parking lot, especially with street cleaning. I really have no idea where I'm going to park in the near future. And it may not look like an inspiring place, but it is really an essential amenity for the neighborhood. And I really don't see in any way how like short-term paid parking is going to benefit myself or anyone else in the community. And it does just feel the way this has been presented is that we're getting kind of bulldozed with the idea that because of the pandemic, I got dirty under there. So now they're going to take away our parking and charge for outside people to come for like 4 hours at a time and then leave. And now I don't know where I'm going to find parking. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Alex. Will?
Sorry, I don't know if there's a response to that. Lincoln Wrestler's next.
All right. Go ahead, Lincoln.
I'm sorry, I'm biking today.
Of course you are.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Eric and Will. And thank you, DOT, for joining this conversation. I mean, it sounds to me like, the process was not great for how we got here. But if I'm hearing you all right, you're saying that you're listening carefully and care about the feedback that you're getting from Community Board 1 and Community Board members in this process, which we appreciate. And I hope that you're hearing that short-term parking isn't meeting any of our community's priorities or needs. And I think, as Rhonda knows well, there's been years of advocacy and planning and organization from the community around how we can make Meeker move and have bike lane space and have open space and really brighten up and enliven this depressed area under the BQE. And I feel like what hasn't been said, but what is, but reading between the lines, is that there's a budget crisis going on. DOT, like everybody else, is trying to figure out how they can raise some revenue here and there, and thinks that some short-term parking here would be beneficial, and for that reason. But it doesn't actually meet our community's needs. And I think what Jerry said earlier in the meeting is spot on. Come back to us with a comprehensive proposal. When you have a plan for how we are going to make Meeker move and have an opportunity to evaluate this bike lane that will much more effectively meet our needs, then how parking does or does not complement that is a conversation we should be having at that time. And so I do hope, and I would like to just ask directly, is this proposal on hold as a result of community opposition, or how is DOT proceeding from here? And thank you again.
So I'm sorry, is it the formal position of the community board that you're opposing the proposal? Or is that what he's saying? I didn't understand the question.
Wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, how about this? If Community Board 1 were to officially oppose this proposal, is DOT going to adhere to that recommendation?
Rhonda, I have a question.
Yes.
I believe we talking about comprehensive plan, and I'm not quite sure what the comprehensive plan is going to entail. If that's going to entail the bike lane and the parking, or I understand like parks and other amenities, which is I'm not DOT technically. We're not going to be involved of this full or like the huge, I mean, the bigger plan. So let's be realistic here. So from our position as DOT, when we're talking about future plan, we're talking about the bike lane and the parking. Am I correct?
From DOT's perspective, that's what we would be talking about.
I think the thing
We're
that
not
we have to
gonna-
say, the point is that if the community board comes back, we would take it definitely an advisement. We would reassess what we're talking about. We take a look at what we're doing. That's what we're saying. So, we're here because we wanted to get out and say, this is what we're looking at. Short-term parking doesn't work. Does long-term parking work? How's our operations work? What are the hours of operations that work? It was the goal or desire was to work with you. It wasn't to say, oh, this is all there is to it, and this is how we would be able to help you. Yes, we would take it an advisement, and I would see where we go with this. And I would work with Keith in the Borough Commissioner's office. I don't know what else we could say.
Okay. Okay, and Jemmy, just to answer your question, when we talk, this is probably your first meeting on this with CB1 about this. As you've heard, we've had years of conversations about Meeker, and so when you say comprehensive plan, what we're saying is, all the stuff that we've talked about in the visioning sessions, and then maybe like this parking thing for like one small section, something like that. That's just to kind of answer your question and clarify. Will, who's next?
Elizabeth Adams.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Elizabeth, are you representing
The council member. Yes. So thanks to all thanks Eric and the committee for holding this meeting, and thank you DOT for being here. So our office has heard numerous requests for bike lanes, open space, pedestrian space, cleanups of under the BQE, and this is not a request that we have heard from community members over the years. So I think it's very understandable that residents have a lot of concerns and have raised a lot of questions over, how this came to be, how this was presented, why this was presented at this time, at a place where it seemed like it was already decided. And so on behalf of the council member, I think we have a lot of questions as well. As folks have said around the community plan visioning that's happened since 2015, there are a lot of requests and a lot of community proposals to look at and to look through for considering what would make sense for this space. I think there's a certainly no shortage of material and ideas to look through on DOT's behalf as a place to start. And the process here definitely kind of took us aback a little bit. Just getting notified via email at the time of everyone on this call. So I do also just want to echo and I think it's important to distinguish that this plan needs to be discussed separately from the cleaning of the space. Our office has made requests for cleanups of the illegal dumping for a while, and community members have made these requests for years, and that is something that our city has a responsibility to address. That is why, as Willis said, we have a Department of Sanitation. That should not be as a goodie or something offered as bait to move forward a plan. And I do think it's important that we not kind of use extortionist methods to make decisions around parking when we have such urgent public space needs for our city. And then the last thing that I want to just highlight is, which I think Karen spoke to really well as well, is I think what I have not quite seen here is what needs really are being met. Capacity and resources are really tight. We are in a pandemic, and so I think it feels really, really striking to hear that this is where we're putting capacity and resources to, when the needs around bike lanes, when the needs around shifting our priorities to thinking about the future of our city that is rooted in open public space, accessible transit, other types of a public transit that reach our community is so urgent. And so we're tight on expendable resources to try something out or to try pilots. And as Karen mentioned, I think it's not even. I don't quite see how this would even bring in potential revenue for DOT if the permit parking isn't what meets the need over there, isn't what fits into an assessment of retail, of restaurant, of commercial usage. So I think from the council members' perspective, we would like a better sense of what those metrics, what those, what needs DOT sees being met here. And then I do also just want to shout out and appreciate Jerry's call to make sure that we are not displacing people's belongings during cleanups. The council member has really made it a priority to make sure that we are not doing sweeps of people who are experiencing homelessness. And so that's important that we're talking about cleaning up our spaces and our communities in a way that does not displace people's homes and livelihoods.
Can I touch on the homeless issue?
Mm-hmm.
Who is that?
That's just Carlos Torres.
Carlos, go ahead.
During our cleanup to prepare this site, we were dealing with the homeless and the encampments, and they were very cooperative moving their stuff. But we have a lot of experience dealing with homeless. We in our 29 parking facilities, municipal park facilities throughout the 5 boroughs, we've had numerous cases of homeless people, camping out in our lots, and we involve homeless services. And especially during the winter times when temperatures drop, below freezing, we reach out to homeless services to get these people and offer them services to get out of the cold. So we're very sensitive to the needs of the homeless. And again, the people that were there, we asked them to move, and they moved their stuff so we could work.
Was homeless services on site with you when you did this removal?
Them to move, and they moved.
Was the agency homeless services on site with you when you did this removal?
We asked them to move, and they moved their belongings.
But it wasn't a joint agency thing where homeless services got with DOT and like a community officer went out with you guys?
When there's no cooperation with homeless services, with the homeless, we involve homeless services.
Okay.
In this case, we didn't need to. They moved on their own accord.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I'll entertain a few more comments from the public. Like I said, I am cutting and pasting the chat as best I can.
You just have a few more hands raised.
Okay. So it's 8:17 now, or 8:13. I don't know. But let's do 3 more public, and then we'll move on if that's okay. All right, Will, go ahead.
I think there's only 2 people that needed to have their hands up still.
2 more. All right, let's limit it to 2, and then we'll move on.
Any Horowitz?
I'm sorry, I jumped over you, Will. What was the name?
Hey, can you all hear me?
Hey, Benny.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Willis, thank you.
Hey, Katie.
Great, thanks. So it's Katie and I run the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance, and we work with a couple of transportation agencies, state DOT running the Under the K Bridge Park, which is the space under the BQE on the Newtown Creek under the Kosciuszko Bridge, which we maintain alongside the state as well as city DOT as a public plaza partner. And so, we do have experience with transportation, and some of the ideas coming out of DOT have been incredibly innovative and really big ideas in terms of revenue generation, in terms of transforming open streets into public spaces, in terms of transforming spaces under elevated expressways, like the L space guidelines that came down. So I think another thing that we're experiencing is sort of disappointment that some of the some of the inspiring movements coming out of DOT itself aren't necessarily representative of the proposal, and that you know, the sort of elements that that are kind of a perfect opportunity at this moment, not only as the community and the city is rethinking the BQE entirely, but we're also sort of rethinking how to approach open space and public space. And you know, it seems like an optimal moment to really push the mark on this space, you know, both in what you've been researching and what our community's been working with DOT on those ideas. So I guess I'm curious, you know, the folks either from open streets or public plazas, you know, they should be part of this conversation as well, because some of the elements there are some of the elements that the community has talked about, and you know, the sort of maker moves or some other workshops. And so not only the features of the space itself, but also opportunities for revenue generation. So I think when you ask for proposals of how something could happen, I would say, well, let's look at some case studies of what's already happening, either with DOT or with other agencies. And the last thing that I'll say is, you know, the pandemic has obviously presented some major fiscal challenges, but it's also presented the extreme need that our community and communities throughout the country that are, you know, densely populated, the need for open space. And so I think that in our community where there isn't that much open space, the few opportunities that we have to create space for the community to use beyond just revenue generation, but actually for recreation, transportation, you know, community gathering, culture, social distancing, you know, that those are all elements that we had hoped to see here now. So I think, you know, also what you're hearing is just a general disappointment from some of the things that the movements that have been coming from the city that are really forward thinking and innovative.
That's a really great comment, Katie. Thank you.
Eric, if I may ask a question.
I'm sorry, who's that? Carlos? Carlos, go ahead.
Jimmy. So, I'm hearing the open space, that's great, and definitely I'm believing in open space and all the initiative, and so it just I mean, from the community viewpoint, I mean, you guys, you need the whole area to be open space, or you're still thinking about parking on this area? Like, you planning to eliminate all the parking and just all the area to be a kind of open space? I mean, with a lot of initiatives kind of done in it, or you're gonna still maintain some parking?
Well, I think there's been a lot of different voices calling for no parking, but I think parking is going to remain in one form or another, at least for the next generation, until we figure out a better way to get around. So yes, the parking, I think, not speaking for anyone or everyone, but, you know, I think just realistically, parking is going to have to stay, but maybe not for the entire stretch. You know, we've seen a lot of different plans that, you know, take it out of some places, create, like, you know, full play areas or just open space areas or whatever. But I mean, this is why we've been talking about this for 5 years and more, because, you know, we keep coming back to the idea that we need, like, a comprehensive plan that, like, explains how we can do the things that the community wants in a balance. So, you know, I don't know what else to say to that. I don't know if Karen, if you have a better way to put it.
I'm going to reach out to the plaza folks. I'm going to reach out to the bike folks. I'm going to reach out to see how we can put together something which is more comprehensive and a proposal that you folks could take a look at. You know, as I said, we hear what you're saying, and I'm a New Yorker. We're all New Yorkers. We understand. So what we will do is we hear what you're trying to say. And I said, we'll take it all into advisement. I'm not going to make promises one way or the other, but I hear what you're saying. And if you're looking for different uses. You don't want parking from one end to the other. You want other amenities. We can talk to these folks, see what they have, what other ideas they have. Because there may be more. You know, when we first initially proposed this, we said, well, we'll put this thing in. We'll see if it works. Does it supply any benefit or utility to the neighborhood? But it seems as though, you know, folks is feeling as well, you just got to do this and that's it. So, you know, I have to talk to other folks and ramp it up and see where we go. You know, I'm trying to be fair.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Simon, can I just say a point? Don't say Simon. Can I just say
Go ahead,
something?
Simon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to retract what I said in the beginning of before. I heard all the comments, and I do feel that we should go back to the drawing board. Again, when this plan is out here, we should look at all the avenues, like hearing from all the parties, community board, and all the neighbors and the businesses, and see what's best. As was mentioned, with all the comments. So I do think that we should, make a new charrette and discuss again the ideas, hear from everybody.
Thank you, Simon. Will, the last speaker from the public.
Yeah, Thomas Hoji.
Okay.
Thomas, are you on?
Hi there, can you hear me?
I can.
Great. So my name is Thomas Huji. I am one of the co-chairs of the Transportation Alternatives North Brooklyn Activist Committee. And I appreciate everyone's time, so I'm just going to keep this brief. 2 points. It seems like, from my perspective, this seems like DOT is basically trying to upgrade the parking facility so that they can charge for it. And that what that's going to create is a kind of a disincentive for DOT to ever change the space from parking to anything else. Once you're generating revenue from the spots, you're going to be okay, well, let me finish and then you can respond. Once you attach a pricing mechanism to it and you have revenue, you're not going to want to lose that revenue. On top of that, once you attach a pricing mechanism to the spots, what it's going to do is going to create more turnover for the spots. Right now, the local neighborhood kind of just uses all the spots as long-term parking. There's some turnover. Once it's priced, you're going to see more of that, which is actually just going to induce more car trips to the neighborhood, which is actually what we need less of. First of all, it's obviously an environmental justice community because of all the pollution, the history of pollution, the BQE, obviously, not to mention the long-term greenhouse gas emissions that you'd be inducing. And honestly, the more car trips, the less safe that pedestrians and bicyclists are going to be, and transit riders, obviously. We don't really feel that DOT has a good track record of building actually protected bike lanes. So even if you are promising one here, by inducing more car trips, you're going to create more conflict points, which will lead to more injuries and hopefully not fatalities. And we just don't trust that the comprehensive plan will be done in good faith. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Glad we got somebody from TA in here. I think that's a point that's been brought up, so I don't think we need to go back to, unless you feel strongly, Michael, that you want to respond to that, but I think you've addressed that already.
I think I have.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. I want to thank DOT for coming and making this presentation. Michael will circle back at some point, and there's a lot of things going on in the city right now, and but we really have been looking to get something done under the BQE for more than 5 years, for a long time. We really need to get the ball rolling on something going forward, because everything takes 10 to 15 years to from plan to implementation, and if we've spent the last 5 just talking, You know, the next 10 really need to be about getting something finalized by, you know, like 2030 or something like that. Like, we really need to start seeing something happen under that BQE that everybody can enjoy, benefit from, and you know, just be useful for the whole neighborhood in North Brooklyn. So I'll leave it at that. If there are no other community board committee member comments, I'll close it out and we'll move on to the base license.
And what I'll do, Eric, I'll be reaching out to you, and Rhonda and Keith, and opening up a dialogue to see where we go from here.
Okay, I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, DOT.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. All right. So, and thank you, public, for sitting through that. I know. I hope you'll take this back to people that couldn't be on the meeting, because I know there is a lot of concern about this in the neighborhood, and I think I've done a fairly decent job of cutting and pasting the chat into a document. So hopefully we can actually, because we're not always able to pull this back up.
Eric, if I may.
Yes, Jerry.
Just as an aside, if this was a pre-COVID meeting, it would have been standing room only.
Oh, no, I totally
agree.
Yeah.
And for them to try to sneak something in under cover of COVID, and like I said, and the email you received from Rhonda was, this is what we're doing, live with it, it's unfortunate.
Right. I think you're right, Jerry. It's, yeah. And the whole idea that they're, graciously having this dialogue with us, if we hadn't have pushed it to them, we would have been looking at parking spots next week.
Absolutely.
Because I walked that corridor multiple times a week, and they are very far along. Like, those towers are in, like, there's a lot of work that's been done in there, and it probably started even before we got that email. So anyway. All right, well, we'll hold them to coming back and not doing this parking thing or whatever. I probably should have done this while I had them in the room, but does anybody want to entertain a motion on approval of this? I'm not even sure.
Eric Rhonda is still here.
Rhonda, you're still there? Okay.
I am.
All right, I see you. I think the public is going to want to see action from us one way or another. So, I'm not going to make the motion, obviously, but if anybody wants to entertain a motion on this item. Now, remember, this does not require DOT approval, but they are now in good faith, looking for dialogue with us on this issue. So I'll just leave it at that. And if there is nothing, we'll move on to the next item.
I think you're being overambitious when you put the word good faith in. Perhaps the motion of the committee to vehemently oppose might be in order.
I'd be happy to get it on the record and make a motion that we don't support the current plan.
Okay. You want to state that?
A motion to, even though they don't need our approval, a motion to deny the plan as presented to the community board.
How about opposed?
Opposed, yeah.
Add to that they should, as Jerry said, come back with a comprehensive plan or package.
Close the plan as presented and return to board with comprehensive plan.
I'll second that.
I'll say, if I may, comprehensive plan based on previous discussion usage. Fair? Everybody good with that? Okay. And Will, if you're good with it, I'm just going to make that one motion. Karen, okay, fine. Who was the second on that?
William Vega, second.
Okay. Vega second. Okay, let's do roll call. Okay, let's do roll call. So Simon Weiser, is he there still? Simon Weiser going once.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Erin Drinkwater. She's still here? Did everybody leave? Let's go. Come on, people, stay to the end. William Klagsbald?
Yes, I'm for the motion. I agree.
Thank you, sir.
I did hear Erin. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, she, okay.
Sorry,
Hear
I
her.
actually got booted off, but I.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So that you're in favor of the motion, Erin? Did I hear that right?
Correct, in favor of the motion to oppose.
Okay. Willis? Obviously. Okay. Karen? Let's see. Is Kevin Costa still on here? There he is.
I am here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. William Vega.
Yes. Opposed.
Okay. Is sorry. Is Abe still here? Abe Leibovitz? Yes, there he is. Abe, what's your vote?
Ultimately, I'm feeling just.
Abe Leibovitz?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Did I miss anybody? Gina, did I get you?
You missed me.
I'm sorry, Gina.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, I think that's everyone. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Going once? Going twice? Anyone abstain? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you. That closes this item. And okay, so thank you. So we will now move on to the base renewal license. Is Marie, you had said that they wanted to come and present.
They said that they wanted to come and share their new programs.
Okay, are they
that they're doing, to help the public, and they did not show or answer.
They did not. Okay, we don't have any complaints about Metro Line, right?
No.
After 50,000 years of being here. Okay, so sorry, I didn't want to do that. Okay, so we need a motion on the base renewal, Karen. Wait, hang on one second. Sorry. Where are you? There you go. Okay. Okay, so that's motion to approve, Karen. Is Kane? Do I have a second? Simon seconds. Well, let's try to do all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, this will be easier. And anyone opposed? Going once, opposition, twice. Okay, abstentions, going once, going twice. Okay, unanimous. Thank you all. That was nice and easy. Okay, so now we have old business. And Will, you sent me an email saying you wanted to talk about a bunch of stuff. So I will recognize you. Does anyone else have old business before I go to Will? I'm sorry. It's just getting late, and we have to not see who's president. So
Yeah.
okay. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Will.
I don't want to have necessarily a super long conversation, but the Open Streets initiative, there's been significant conversation online on Facebook about it. There's a petition started by the group that's been maintaining a lot of the open streets in the neighborhood to continue it and expand it. And there's just a lot of really intense opinions on both sides. And I think, the main issue is that, we've never, with COVID, it's just like we never really had a thorough discussion with DOT about the program, and some of the streets were suggested by the council members, and some were suggested by individuals or organizations. And so there's, people are being impacted for good and for bad on both sides. And it just seems like there needs to be a really, as much as is possible, a better engagement process and opportunity for people to talk about the pros and cons. I personally feel like the streets that were chosen, like if we're going to be talking about open streets, we should have a bigger conversation and not just looking at the ones that were chosen in the middle of a pandemic, sort of a rushed decision in my take, and that we should have, bigger conversation about the value of it and what places would benefit from it and what places are not benefiting as much. So I just wanted to raise it because there's been, some of these threads on Facebook are just hundreds of comments back and forth, and that's it. It would be insane for the transportation committee to not acknowledge this major issue that's happening on our streets.
Right. Thank you for that, Will. And maybe we'll. God, I hate to do it on this platform though, because exactly what you said. There's like so many people that went, and like Jerry said, if this was like a in-person meeting, we would be, we'd have people out the door. So, people can write in their, and it doesn't have to be the end of the conversation. So let's make it an agenda point for the next transportation committee meeting. And go ahead, Karen.
We should have DOT come back to us
Sure.
regarding just what their analysis of how well the open streets, did it impact as far as, in transportation, any streets got clogged, what were the issues? Because currently right now as it stands, like the NYPD is not putting up, there's issues currently with open spaces. So I think those are some of the things that we need to address. But like on those groups, there was a lot of, concern about removal of parking, which I don't know if that proposal, I didn't get to read the petition, but, I think there's a little bit of misconceptions too, going back and forth, on Facebook. So I think first step is let's get DOT in. What's the status? Can we do better?
Karen, can you just clarify? I kind of lost you when I was typing.
Sorry.
What were you saying? No, it's my bad. What were you saying about NYPD? And
No, there was times where they were removing, the horses and,
Right, okay.
not putting them back, and just, it's not running, some of the streets are running better than others. So I just feel like those streets that had a community partner, seem to work better than the ones that were relying on NYPD to come and put up the horses and remove them. So I'm just saying.
To be fair to NYPD, I don't think NYPD had a lot of clear guidance either. I think they were just like, here, deal with this on top of everything else we're dealing with. So,
First and foremost, I would like to get an update from DOT on the open space program currently. The other thing is, as here, say for instance, I know Gina's on the call, but, we're asking for, one street to be, shut down as well. So right now there's no mechanisms, DOT is like, oh, nope, that's not this permit, that's not, that's totally separate. That's the mayor's office. So we don't even know what that process would be and if there's a mechanism right now. So getting DOT maybe, and somebody, a representative from, the mayor's office, I think would be helpful too.
Yeah.
Karen?
I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I think the mayor's office needs to come because like this came from the mayor's office. This didn't start with DOT. So
exactly.
Go ahead,
Yes,
go ahead, William.
It is 100% mayor's decisions. These are political decisions. They're not well thought out. I mean, we're struggling with small business services, with outdoor seating for restaurants now, for stores, open stores. A lot of things are planned out. Last thing they deal with is enforcement, and everybody's passing the buck. As a community board members, for the community, we have to have a thoughtful conversation long term, like Willis said. Right now, it's just find any open space available. Also, again, I have my reservations regarding the meters. It's also the city's hurting. A lot of initiatives are going to be really focused on revenue. So we have to be very. How can I say this? We have to be very clinical. I do feel they were saying if we don't get the meters, you can't get the street clean. That's sanitation's job. Period.
Yeah,
they're supposed to have been doing it. So I think we have to be very clinical. Know about when we talk to them. Where is this revenue going? They're going to generate. Is it going to go back to community or to the city general park? The other thing is just what can they do for us? We have to get all these other partners. I know EDC and as well as my office with Division of Neighborhood Development has already contracts about open space. I'm waiting to see what they're talking about. I always get very suspicious when EDC has their hands into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my personal.
I think everyone's suspicious when EDC gets involved.
Again, there's a lot of players. Nobody's going to do nothing, not just because of let's be real. It's because there's some money to be made.
Sure.
Okay, and we have to be conscious. It's okay, but we as a community got to get a piece of the pie. That's what I always get objected. When it ever comes with building these big projects, they make a lot of promises. When all is said and done, we get shafted. So we have to be, very clinical, very on top of it. And I appreciate Jerry. I don't know if he's still there, his input. We're all aligned. What's the old thing? Show us the money. So.
Right on. Okay.
Like I said, I just, again, it's what are the benefits, and I know some streets worked really well, really, really well, and others not so much. So I'm hesitant, and I would definitely, like, we need a dialogue, a real comprehensive dialogue regarding this.
Okay. All right, so we'll put that on next month's agenda, and we'll take it up in a more serious way, and we'll see. We should get NYPD in here too, to talk about it too. Will, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, real quick, no Hidalgo's on the line, or he's
good.
in the chat with his hand raised. So
okay, go ahead.
If he can speak, that would be
yeah, please. Go ahead, Noel. You there?
Hi. I think you finally unmuted me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, great. Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Noel or Noel. I'm a Gemini. I have two names. I'm a nearly 20-year resident of Greenpoint. I live at Driggs and Monitor, McGolrick Park. I'm one of about 100 different volunteers that have been helping maintain a few segments of the open streets. Karen, I absolutely agree with what Karen said. There have been some really successful implementations of the open street here in North Brooklyn. We formed a community coalition that essentially kind of stepped in when we didn't see full partnership from the NYPD. I would like to point out that there are two precincts that this involves, the 90th and the 94. We essentially stepped in to help bridge a relationship between these streets and the precincts and the community businesses and the residents. We put out a petition this past week, essentially asking for a formal conversation with the DOT. And in that petition, we're also including a number of street treatments, temporary street treatments that would help ensure that the open spaces and the open streets that we have now would essentially be a stopgap to whatever that formal conversation of whatever formal treatment and permanent treatment would look like. We're looking for the Open Streets program to continue. The mayor has sent out messages saying that they are going to be looking at making the open streets permanent. And so we want to ensure that there is proper community dialogue with the community board, with businesses, with residents, and respective agencies to ensure that the Open Streets program moves forward in an inclusive way. There's been a lot of misconceptions, but there's been a lot of misstatements on the North Brooklyn Civic Crowdsourcing Facebook group. I'm happy to address any of those specific needs, but I want to make sure that this particular committee knows that the coalition is actively working with the DOT and actively working with both precincts to address any of the security and safety and accessibility needs. We're also maintaining the different barriers. So we've been making sure that the barriers go up and down on Driggs and Russell. In regards to Berry Street, it's been a different story. We've had some problems that because the two precincts weren't taking them down, essentially the community has interpreted that the barriers stay up 24/7. So we've been in a situation that the barriers have essentially been staying up on Berry Street. The precinct on the ninth floor has gone through a few times and they've started to remove the barriers, which creates an inconsistency because the community still believes that the Berry Street is an open street 24/7. So we would love to figure out how to ensure that the open street implementation as it is right now is safe for all users, and would love to have the formal conversation on how to make the open street permanent. So you tell us when and where we need to show up, and we will be there.
Thank you, Nolan. Again, I've seen all that you've done with trying to maintain those those barriers and stuff like that. It's a real yeoman's job, and you guys have done a great job. And I love anything that bridges, NYPD with the community to get everybody talking and getting everybody on the right page. Especially, like we were saying, but for NYPD was just like left in the dark. Like, here, deal with this thing. So for you and you guys to go out and like make that bridge, I think it's really important, especially in these times. So stay tuned, Noel. It will be on the agenda for the next meeting. I don't know if we can unpack everything that needs to be talked about from your perspective, but we'll start there. And hopefully maybe we can get some other meeting together that meets everybody's concerns. So, Will, was there anyone else that wanted to talk on this? No? Okay. Well, we'll leave it to Noel because I think he represents a big voice in the community, and for the moment, we'll let him speak for that. And all right. We did have an email. Anybody else for old business? Going once, going twice. Okay, we did have a request that came in via email this afternoon. Not sure if that person is still in the room. Let me just find it. Sorry, bear with me. Where is it? Sorry. Aaron Sokeli, are you still in the room, in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Thank you for hanging out through all that. Let me just get your name typed in here. Okay, go ahead.
Sure. So I sit on the board at 184 Kent, which is between North 3rd and North 4th Streets. As you know, our building takes up the entire block between North 3rd and North 4th Streets, and the entire south side of our building runs alongside North 3rd Street, of which a stretch is between River Street and the water. It's a dead end. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that area, as that is also adjacent to the River Street lots that are up for rezoning, now owned by Two Trees. So on that stretch of street, one side is our building and the other side is that lot, the lots that Two Trees just purchased. That street is a little bit unique in that it's a short stretch of street between River and the dead end. There are 11 to 12 parking spots on the south side of the street, depending on the sizes of the cars that are parked there. And that side of the street is unregulated parking. No street cleaning regulations, no parking regulations whatsoever. And that side of the street is used for long-term parking. We've actually had vehicles that NYPD has had to remove because they were being used as storage facilities, had flat tires, were sitting there for months at a time. And then on the north side of the street is a no standing anytime zone that is also very unregulated. And because of the nature of the stretch of street, being that it's a dead end, very close to the water and sort of unvisible because of the empty lot and the buildings that are under construction, it's become over many years, I'm talking 5 to 10 years, a sort of hangout spot for people to come and loiter, to do drugs, to litter, to, just really disrupt quality of life, loud music, partying. A couple weeks ago, we actually had an entire video shoot that was going on with cars lined up horizontally on the sidewalk, film crew, music. I wish that I could share. I actually have several photographs and videos of what goes on that stretch of street. But the reason that I wanted to speak with you tonight, and I've spoken with Eric about this, I've spoken with Ben Solitaire in Levin's office. I'm very close in touch with the 94th precinct. They did make that stretch of street an actual open street as part of this program that you all were just discussing. They provided us with those wooden horses. But I'm sure as you've seen around the neighborhood, as soon as someone knocks one of those over or runs it over, they're pretty much unusable. And that's what's happened to ours. They're left, we've just have wood shatters, and they've not been replaced. And we still have this issue of quality of life and safety, frankly, on that stretch of street, which is a point of direct access to the water for pedestrians. So, it's a combination of quality of life of the residents of my building, along with all of the people that enjoy the waterfront, which, as we know, is a lot of people at this time. And so I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what may be a better solution than hoping that NYPD will help us enforce parking, which doesn't really seem to be working as a solution right now.
Okay. Thank you, and Aaron, sorry I didn't recognize your name, but yes, we have spoken before, and I think in the conversation that we had with Ben, that we felt like you had done all your due diligence. You'd reached out to all the agencies that needed to be spoken with, and I think you'd organized your neighbors to deal with it. I don't know. It's a really frustrating thing because I know it's hard to get enforcement over there, and it needs to be like a constant enforcement because of the way the crime issues, the way it's being used. I don't know. I'm still kind of stuck on ideas.
Yeah, and that's something that we had maybe thought was if we could get, and I think it would be from DOT, approval to make both sides of the street no standing and have no cars on that street at all, that perhaps we could, at our own cost, install some sort of planter blockage to actually block the street from vehicles, similar to what Two Trees did at Grand Ferry Park. Now, I've been trying to investigate how they got that done, because what they essentially did is there was a similar issue in the no standing parking area directly in front of Grand Ferry Park, in between, right at the entrance of Domino Park near Grand. And there were people loitering there, sketchy things going on. And basically 90th suggested to Two Trees that they purchase something to block that area from cars. And you'll see that there are giant planters there. Now, I don't know how they did that, but I know that our board and our building would be willing to do something similar, but we obviously can't overstep our boundaries and block a public street without permission to do so.
Anybody have want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, maybe why can't I make the cleaning like ASP once a week cleaning or 2 weeks, like just to clean up the streets, you know what I mean?
So I actually, sorry to interrupt, William, I actually have requested directly to the Department of Sanitation for street cleaning regulations to be added to the side of the street where there is parking right now. And they argue that the street cleaning machine cannot turn around in the street because it's a dead end. And the cars, like I said, parked there for such a long time. There's so much debris and garbage that's built up under those vehicles. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true that the machine can't get down there. I don't know what the deal is with that.
Wait, sanitation. I mean, there's dead end streets all over Manhattan. Like the alternate side. I was on a job the other day that had it. So I mean,
I have an email from them that explicitly says that.
That's crazy.
What about the Plaza program?
I was going to say that, Karen. Yeah.
Can that street maybe be a plaza, and then your building partners to maintain it, to keep it clean?
That would be fantastic. How do we do that?
You go through the DOT site, you put in a request, and I don't have it offhand, but let me find it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And then but it needs a project partner, but I think that's already baked in the cake because your building is so organized. My only concern with that would be in the overnight hours. Yes, you would be able to get like planters and things like that in there to block the traffic, but
that people would still be able to hang there.
People would still be in there. I mean, that's New York City, right? I mean, it's like unless the cops are in there, you're kind of stuck. But at least it would like cut down on the cars with sound systems coming in and like turning it into a disco.
Exactly.
The other thing is, and I know nobody likes speed humps or whatever, but if they're like, I think you said that they were racing on River Street for a while.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, speed bumps. I know that worked on, I can't believe I can't think of the name of it, but the street, it's the first street in Queens. We're next to the cemetery. That stretch. What the hell is the name of that street? Karen, you know that street. Like when you first get off the bridge, it's the first right, Greenpoint Avenue Bridge. It's the first right you make. Whatever that street is.
It's Review.
Right. So, a couple of years ago, they had a huge problem. I think somebody actually crashed and died in a racing accident over there. And I'm on that street all the time. And they put in speed, and there's tons of industrial traffic there, but they did it in a smart way to where the trucks didn't have to bounce over it. They made like these cutouts so the trucks could line up. It's actually really smart engineering. So, I mean, I know we don't like speed bumps in CB1, but I mean, that might be, I mean, if it's a problem that NYPD just cannot enforce, I mean, this is one of those situations where we really need to look at it to see if that's going to, cut that, just anything to make it undesirable. Sorry, excuse me, for them not to use it. But in the meantime, we could talk about the Plaza program. Aaron, I'll dig it up, but I'll send you the link. It's on the DOT website, but Okay, great. Okay, good. And then
I think that would I think that would be a plaza, although again, I don't know, does your building have security?
Yeah, so I was going to add that on. We actually, I'm not sure if you're also familiar with the Shore Public Walkway that is directly in front of the gym of our building. It's sort of a covered walkway between North 3rd and North 4th Streets right along the water attached to our building. So we've had some safety issues in that area as well, which is a separate area because it's something that we are in charge of. That was an agreement that was made with the city when the building was renovated. That's neither here nor there, but we do have security on staff. In the summer, every day, we'd scale it back in the colder months. But yeah, to your point, you know, if there's a plaza and people are rowdy, we can certainly have security enforcing things there. Much easier than cars, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's no alternate side parking, there's no regs there, then it's even easier, you know, because you're not removing parking technically if there's no regulation there. So, yeah, definitely look into that. I think that might be a benefit.
And Aaron, you have a lot under your space, under your building, right? Am I wrong on that? Do you have a garage?
There is, yes.
Okay, all right. So it's not like people that live in your building are like doing car storage on that spot. They have a place to go if...
No, I don't. Yeah, and I actually, part of my, you know, all the work that I done was just kind of finding out if those cars were people who live in the building, and they're not. So I think, like I said before, they're kind of being used as long-term storage by people in the community who are, you know, happy to find a place to park that has no rules.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Well, you know, you and I have talked. It's on the record now. It'll be in the report, but we'll circle back and we'll just keep an eye on it and see what we can do. And you know, we'll keep Ben included because he's been helpful in this as well. And we'll just
absolutely. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Anybody else with new business? Going once, going twice. All right. Okay. Thank you all for sticking it out. I'm just going to try to keep this chat open for a minute to copy any last comments. Anybody else have anything?
Hey, Eric, sorry, I was having a hard time. Kevin had asked earlier about if the recording's going to be available to the public. I don't know where we ended up on that with other community board meetings.
I don't, Marie, do you know if we're able to archive these yet or what's going on? I forget.
Yeah, their WebEx is no longer providing the link.
Right.
So we have to see if we can do YouTube on them.
Right.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay, thank you. Chat. Okay, good. Sorry, just bear with me while I save this, and then we can all obsess about the vote count. Okay, motion to adjourn. Karen, William. Okay, thanks everybody. I don't know when the next meeting is. I'll let you know, and we'll see you all on Tuesday.
Hey, good night.
Yes, Jerry.
One comment. We are putting the minutes. All of the meetings are going up. The committee meetings, the board meetings, they're all going up on YouTube. We started doing that already. It's not something we're looking at. We're doing it already.
I'm sorry, Jerry. I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. I had my microphone up. We are putting the meetings up on YouTube, the board meetings and the committee meetings. It's not something we're looking into. We've started doing it already. We will continue to do it.
Okay, great. Is there a way to put like a link to those on the website? Do you know?
I think Maria, are you getting the link up on the website? Were you able to do that?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, but they can find it if they Google CB1.
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right. Great. I don't know if Kevin's still in the chat, but I'll make sure that he gets that message. And if there's nothing else, Thank you for enduring 2.5 hours.
Thank you to the committee. Have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Davis. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night.